Hi Hardik, hi Sumana.
Hi.
Welcome to
Hello.
episode 2 of the Native Narratives podcast. I am so excited to have you folks here and I'm really looking forward to the conversation today. So, to give you a very brief introduction about this podcast, Native Narratives, this is the second episode. And the reason ARISA is doing this podcast is to have conversations with artists, with scientists, to talk a little bit more about also the intersection of art and science together and what that means for us as people, as individuals, and also as a community. And I'm Kohinoor. I am the founder and director of ARISA, as you already know. My background is cognitive neuroscience, but I've also been a dancer right since I was born pretty much, but I learned Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi growing up. And so that's been a big part of my identity. And I bring neuroscience and dance together in my research, in my choreographies. And that's for me like the biggest thing and the best thing that's happened to me, that I figured that we could intersect those. And given your backgrounds, I thought you would be the best guests today to come on the podcast and talk to us about how you've made that change from science-oriented fields maybe, and come into art and come into psychology and also editing and photography and videography and lots of different things, and triathlons as well. So I think we have a very eclectic and very versatile people here coming today and talking to us. So let's have a conversation. But before we start, would you like to introduce yourself, Sumana?
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having us here. Really happy to be here. I am Sumana, and yeah, when people ask me, what do you do, I go blank for some time because I don't do one thing. But lately, I am a coach for personal growth. So I coach clients one on one for personal growth towards self actualization, I like to call it. And I homeschool. That is a big part of my world. We have a son. He just turned 10. Yeah, and we've been homeschooling since the beginning. And I recently graduated from Masters in Expressive Movement Therapy. It's called as Dance Movement Therapy in the West. And yeah, I'm applying that into my practice. It all goes, everything that I do sort of goes with one another, aligns with one another.
Thank you for that. And Hardik, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having us. I'm like same as Sumana. I also go blank for a time. Like I don't really know what to tell people because I don't want to. As at least now, like I'm in this space where I don't want to associate myself with one particular field.
Right.
But of course, my background is I've done my engineering. I was working in an IT company for a while, but then completely transitioned into music and entrepreneurship, and there's also a story there.
Right.
And um, and then now I'm transitioning into more filmmaking, video editing, and my recent fascination is AI.
Right.
So everything and anything that AI can do with respect to music, filmmaking, art, I'm really excited about that as well. And a lot of different things. I'm also an educator, so teaching music to a lot of um, like children in the homeschooling community.
But that's so fascinating, and that's why I think having both of you today on this podcast for me is so amazing, because you come not just with one background, right? You're bringing to the table so many different perspectives. But I'd like to start off with a very basic kind of question, especially given that you're homeschooling your son, kind of. And my question for you is, like, in your schooling, did you ever feel like there was this like, what was the perspective of people around you on subjects, and what was your favorite subject in school, and what did you think was what you wanted to be as a child? Did you always know, for example, that you would, I don't know, become a growth coach, and did you know that you would be a triathlete and a musician? Like, what were your thoughts growing up as kids, Sumana?
Yeah, I've been asked this before and I've thought about it. And I remember I ended up saying once that I slept through school. Even if I look back now, it wasn't a bad time, but it was merry. I was merry. I had no idea what subjects were being taught. Um, and people have their favorite teachers back in school, the one that really inspired them and made them who they are. But when I think back from my school time, None really. I literally slept through school and I have no idea what I studied. It was in the 10th grade. I vividly remember I went to tuitions, math tuitions, and that is the first time I fell in love with math.
Right.
And I think that's where I opened up, like I awoke to the world. Yeah, I vividly remember that that phase. In the 10th, 11th, and 12th, the sciences began to fascinate me, and I was also roller skating around that
Oh,
time.
lovely.
Yeah.
Another like thing to add to your many feathers in the cap, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. At 14, I roller skated from Bangalore to Chennai. Yeah, as
You're crazy. That's
part of
amazing.
a Save Oil rally. Physically, I was feeling really good, and mentally, the math and sciences were really appealing. Yeah.
That's so interesting to hear because I think I don't hear a lot of children saying maths is their favorite subject. I think it's always like some kind of scare about numbers, and I don't remember even as a kid for me like I don't think I had favorite subjects, but I used to love languages, and they were also my stronger suit compared to science and maths because for some reason like I could never understand those concepts. But did you also enjoy maths and science in school, or were you more of a like let's do something
No,
different?
I'm one of those typical students. So I was also like pretty good. I used to be like in the top five in the class,
Right.
and but that was mostly because of pressure from the parents. I also don't remember really liking any subject. It was just like it's there. I have to study this. Maybe my favorite subjects was wherever I got the most marks. Like I topped in some subject, that is my favorite now. But I do remember vividly this one episode where I think I was in 11th or I think maybe 11th or 12th. So we were in the biology tuition class, and that is where I had drawn the whole diagram of the frog and the internal systems, and like I really enjoyed that, and I had made it so well. The teacher took and showed everyone like, "Dekho, essay, you know, this is how you should make it." And I was so proud. I was like, "Yes, I did it!" So, and so that is where now how the elders, the teachers, the mentors in your life influence where you want to go. So biology was kind of really interesting for me during school. But yes, this like I also slept through most of it because it was just going along with the herd. Like 10th kar lo beta, then you can do whatever you want. 12th kar lo, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a never-ending struggle, right? Like, fair enough. Yeah, I don't remember sleeping in school ever. Like, I was the most excited kid to go to school. I loved exams. I was weird that way. Like, my friends also laugh at me, but I loved studying. But for me, I think it was also interesting because even though I got good marks in 10th standard, I chose to go to the arts because my brothers had taken science, and although like I liked science, it wasn't like my favorite subject, but I had a lot of pressure from peers and from mentors and teachers saying, hey, you've got good marks, you should go for the sciences, right? And I said, I've seen my brothers go to the science and they had tuitions for physics, chem, maths, biology, whatever, you name it. And then you have college for a few hours and then you have tuition classes for another few hours. So then, and I was dancing quite a lot. I was like, I'm not ready to give up my time that I spend on dancing. So I actually didn't go to science just for that reason because I was like, arts liya to zyada time milega, which was a big misconception because I got even busier with other things in life. But how did you folks like, I'm assuming you chose the science stream and
Yeah, so when you mention, that you wanted to go to arts, so I was just thinking like how like you had the choice and you had the awareness to make the choice. I was in Gujarat, and it was so like so much herd mentality. I had no say or not even consciousness of the fact that I should like what do I like. There was no consciousness of that. So what it was like अच्छे marks आए तो you have to go to science. There is no option, and all the people who get low marks are in arts. So that is how it was, and we had no consciousness of at least I didn't like I was just told कि इसमें जाना है ऐसा होता है so होता है. So there's a lot of, like, we recently watched this movie, Rocky and Rani, right? In so there was this dialogue where, you know, मुझे पता ही नहीं है कि ऐसा होता है,
Yeah.
then how will I behave in a different way, right? So that was the case for me.
Was it the same for you, Sumana? Because I feel like everywhere you go in India, people do glorify science. Right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, yeah, अच्छे marks है तो science ही करना है मतलब.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure actually. I agree with the part that there was no awareness. I think I didn't have any opportunity to consider arts at all. I mean, I was in love with the math and with math and the sciences, and I remember during my therapy course, during the psychology module, when we were looking back at why did you choose to do what you did. Like I graduated as an engineer in electronics and telecom, and that's it. I had nothing else in mind. I knew that I wanted to do engineering, um, and I don't know. When I look back at it, I was like, okay, my dad was an engineer, and I don't know, somewhere at the back of my mind it was that it was there. I don't even know if my dad really, ever said it actually, or I overheard a conversation or what, that somewhere it was in my head that he felt that if he had had a son, his son would have been an engineer like him, and his son would have driven a car around for him and everything. So I don't really know, but I feel like that's what I did. I tried to be the son that he never had. Yeah, there was no chance for me at all, no opportunity for me to consider the arts. But then I do remember that my family, we love music. Um, Not my parents enjoy classical music also, but I don't remember enjoying classical music so much growing up. But they listen to really good Bollywood music like Mohammad Rafi and Lata Mangeshkar, and I grew up listening to that music, and we'd always be singing and humming. I loved dancing, although I never got to train. I remember my mom telling me that she took me for Bharatnatyam. Um, Took me to a teacher, and the teacher asked her, does she have any experience? And I was like maybe 8 years old, and my mom said no, that's why I'm like bringing her to you. And she said no, then I can't take her in. So then the next day I was put in roller skating, and that became my life, and I really like it. I absolutely love it that I did roller skating for so long. So Bharatnatyam was out of the picture, and nothing, I mean, it wasn't a choice, it just happened. Roller skating just happened to me, and engineering just happened to me. Liking math and science just happened to me.
Hardik, what about you? Like you said, you didn't really have the choice to think which stream you would take. But in retrospect, do you think if you would have been given the choice, would arts would have like made more sense? Or back then, were you already doing like listening to a lot of music, and were you always into music?
Yeah, in schooling, definitely, we had, so it was then like music. There was a hobby class that we had, and we had to choose whether we had to want to do music or something else, dance. So I chose music, and I remember I really enjoyed that. So first it was singing, I think for around 4 years, and during that time we used to have these patriotic song competitions, and as a group we went till nationals, and it was so thrilling for us. Like, there was a whole trip outside where we went to Rajkot, and all of us were sleeping in a big hall, and I remember all of these very vividly. And then winning, coming third, it was so, like, I enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. But I think after that, when puberty hit, my voice was like completely gone, and I was really, and there also, like, nobody was really there to tell me and guide me through it. Okay, your voice will turn out later. You're just going through puberty. I didn't know, so I was like, Abhi, my voice is not sounding great, so I left singing. And then I did, I think, tabla for a year and violin for 2 years. So this was all part of schooling. So we had a class, and you had to choose where do you want to go. So, but I think that really influenced and took me towards music. And same, like, her father, my father also, like, he's a charmer. He's always everywhere. He's singing. He's the one on the stage with the mic. and singing all the Bollywood songs. And I think that influenced me as well. He used to listen to a lot of all of these old songs, and I still remember the lyrics of all.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but I think what I really did was um, rebel. So me going into like completely going to music or like a completely different field was more of a rebellion than like a conscious choice. So it was like you told me so much to do, like 10th 12th ये वो करो, अभी मुझे जो करना है मैं करूँगा, and I'm going to go like 180 degrees and go somewhere else. And because I had loved music during the school time, I chose music, and that's how I think I went into being a musician.
So we'll get back to that rebellion that you were just talking about. But something you said about tabla and violin that you were learning in school as a hobby class makes me wonder, like, back in the day, people always thought of it as a hobby. Like art was always a hobby and it was never taken seriously as a profession. I don't know if things have changed now,
No,
but
it still isn't taken seriously as a profession. It'll like parents still consider it as a hobby, and I've noticed this during like taking counseling sessions for music club. So music club is the um, uh, academy that I founded in 2010. So it's been 14 years now, and I still remember like people come, parents come, they know that the music learning is good for their child, but they don't really want to push them into like uh, a career. कि music करना चाहिए. Like even I think the parents, they are also not really conscious or aware. They are also going by the herd mentality कि इसका बच्चा म्यूजिक कर रहा है और वो अच्छा होता है, मुझे पता है म्यूजिक अच्छा होता है,
तो मैंने भी
राइट,
करना
तो मेरे
चाहिए.
बच्चे को भी
हाँ,
करना चाहिए म्यूजिक, बट दे
right,
डोंट नो व्हाई एग्जैक्टली यू शुड सेंड योर चाइल्ड टू,
right,
or why exactly you should do music or arts, or what
correct.
it really does to you. They have no
Right.
idea.
Yeah, and I think it's also in service to like an extra, like it's an extracurricular activity that's in service to your academic pursuits. US में बड़े university में अगर admission चाहिए तो you need to have these extracurricular activities, but it's still in service to a non-art profession. But do you think, and because you've also started music club, do you think it can sustain, like practically speaking, does it make money? Does art as a profession make money in today's society?
uh, it I think it really depends on where you are and how people see it. So it is easier to sustain if you are in a metro city, because like a majority of population is more aware. They also have the money to spend, and I think we were just talking about this the other day, that the more abundance you have, the more you are directed towards arts and imaginative and creative pursuits. Because if you are always in survival mode, you don't really have the time, the capacity, or the imagination, the brain space to really
Engage in the arts.
engage in
Yeah.
the arts. And there are very few people. We have examples where the struggle itself becomes the source of inspiration to create art. But most of the people, if you are in survival mode, you don't have the capacity to go into that space.
Art becomes such an elitist thing at that point. And I mean, I don't know if I completely agree to it. Like, sure, I mean, your basic needs of what, WHO and everyone else says is like food, clothing, shelter, they need to be met. But I also feel at some point we are only aiming for those basic needs. Whereas for me, human flourishing is a basic need. Because, like you very rightly said, people in struggle, people who are like trying to do something, trying to meet their basic needs, a lot of art comes from that. And it is also an artist stereotype ki dard, like if you watch Rockstar, they're like dard chahiye to you'll give all these songs. And I have a lot of friends who adhere to that and are like, nahi, need heartbreak in life bro, to mera gana bahar niklega, etc, etc. But I feel like I read this book. It's actually a beautiful book. Just a couple of months ago, a friend gifted it to me. It's called Black Butterflies, and it's It's about the siege in Sarajevo in the 90s, I think. And this girl is an artist, and she's painting, and she has a beautiful life before, and then the siege happens, and her family is in the UK, and she's stuck there. And it's her hometown, but she's getting displaced now, and there's a lot of war, and like whatever bad things are happening essentially. And she starts making art with what's available to her, and she's cold, she's surviving, like she's barely surviving, she's starving, but she'll make art with tin cans, and she'll make art with chalk that's available, and she's drawing on the walls because there's no paper left anymore, because they're using whatever paper they can to get fire and like get heat in the rooms. And she makes beautiful artwork out of that, and the whole, like, the book is about different things. And that also makes me think that just that struggle is inspiring people to create art. So art can't be elitist. Art must be like something that's really basic to us, that no matter whether our needs are met or not, we can still access it, and we can still do it, and people tend to still do it.
I've seen a lot of these people through Munim and through Alif. So I've been to Kashmir, and there are a lot of amazing artists that I've met who are living really like they are in survival mode. But the art is coming from that pain, from everything that they've experienced, from the struggles they're going through, from the like things they've seen around them. So that definitely contributes. But to actually make money and consider, the entire society has to be structured around it, that like the parents or like, because everybody thinks that this is a hobby and इससे पैसा नहीं बनेगा बेटा, तो इसलिए आर्ट्स और साइंस में जाओ. So there is slight change in this, I would say, considering the creator economy that is building, and I think it's more right now in the West, but it's coming towards India as well, where you see a lot of creators on social media. So YouTubers on Instagram, people who make reels or TikToks, these people have started earning a lot, and some of the like youngsters are earning more than their parents are earning right now. And this is what is changing the perspective slightly. Okay, if you want to do certain pursue a certain creative field, there is money in it. And once the society understands that there is money in it and is pouring more money into this, like from everywhere, from government, from investors, like if more money is coming into arts, and then that kind of gives money to the artists, and then get that gives confidence to the parents. Okay, there is a career over
Right.
here.
Yeah, so like, because you talked about Instagram and YouTube and earning money through that as well, there's so much involvement of technology and like, societies advancing that are also getting the money aspect of things. Because I would say it's really hard unless you're like at the top end of like the game, so to speak. It's so hard to make money just being a dancer, for example. Like, if I would just be a performer, not even a teacher, right? Like, that's a different thing. But if I would just be a performer, it's so hard to make ends meet. Like, I would never earn the same amount of money, at least in the current society, unless I was like absolutely the best and a celebrity dancer, and
But
people would want to
isn't
like
that the
pay.
case everywhere now? Like there are so many engineers,
Yeah.
unless you like
Stand out.
90% more than I don't know the stats, but most of the engineers are not employable,
Yeah.
because there are so many engineers and so many colleges, and they've not really learned and understood how to apply what they've learned. So it's there in every field, right? You have to be like, of course, if you want to really make good money, but to understand that there is a career in this, it has to start from like like the society, like a systemic change. The parents have to understand that there is a career in arts, and for them to understand, the entire society has to change and give them that confidence that okay, I can put my child and support them in their artistic.
Yeah, and take it up seriously. Like, how seriously you would take up engineering, or how seriously you would take up any science related field, right? Like, I have friends who go, who talk about, oh, we want to go to this university, or who've talked about previously as well. And like I said, the art has become an extracurricular activity that adds to their CV for them to go to a particular university, because they're taking that field seriously. arts may, if you don't take it seriously, you're never going to be at the top of your game. You have to really invest those many hours, that training, get training from different people, explore yourself, get that freedom to be yourself and explore yourself in the arts. And I think it's just not taken as seriously as a subject or as a profession. Although I remember, like, a lot of my teachers like sat me down and were like, you have some whatever 90 something percentage in 10th, how can you go to arts? And I was like, yeah, like, I don't care. I would like to go to arts because I like them, and I really don't want to spend my time learning about physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology in like tuition classes for more than like a few hours a day and whatever. Who knew that I would go back to learning all of that during my PhD? Because I did my PhD in neuroscience, and we had to learn physics, and we had to figure out biology of the brain and whatnot. Especially like because we were using MRI machines and stuff. So I completely changed from arts to science, and you've both had, similar journeys. So Sumana, you said you did electronics and telecommunications. Is that right? And then, like, how long did you stay in that? Like, how did you switch, and how was that feeling for you? Like, why did you switch?
Yeah, so I did electronics and telecom engineering, and I got recruited off campus, straight off campus. So I went into my IT job for like 3 years, and I did fantastic there. And we've been talking so much about art. That programming that I did, again, adrenaline, like such fun. That was art for me. What I created, that code, that was art for me. So it was
Yeah, I think
really
you were working
thrilling.
for eBay at that
I was
time, no?
working for
Yeah.
eBay, and I also remember like I got these little awards for writing the most efficient code. That is art. That is skill and art.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
beautiful. That code is art.
Of course. Actually, just because I don't want to interrupt you, but I just remembered this when I was a kid. In our old house, my granddad's desk had a little like a bulletin board on it, and he had put up my dad's newspaper article that had come up, which I remember reading every single time while walking past that table, which said, like, it quoted my dad saying writing code is an art. And it just reminded me of that. Like, yeah, for a lot of people who actually enjoy the profession, the art of it, it is art for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that for 3 years, and then at the end of 3 years, I figured that it was getting monotonous, and that I didn't want to like the step ahead over there was either getting entirely technical or getting into managerial positions, and none of that sort of appealed to me. So, without a plan, without any awareness or knowledge even of what I must do, I just sort of jumped off IT.
Yeah, I
And
think we never discussed
we never discussed it. Like we both
like
quit together.
we quit
Yeah.
together. So I quit because I couldn't do IT anymore,
Yeah.
and I wanted to go into music.
Yeah.
And like she jumped in
Yeah.
with me. I don't know
Yeah,
what
I quit
exactly.
purely for fun because
Yeah.
I think I've been an explorer in spirit from maybe ever like since I was born. I just quit purely for fun, and my parents have never questioned me for anything. Uh, when you were saying some time back that you could choose arts, and all your teachers sort of tried to convince you you've got these marks, go into science. Probably your parents also supported you in choosing arts. I think that's the privilege that you had, that I had. Not everybody has. Yeah, like he was pressurized by his
Yeah.
parents to take up science because maybe you're a man and you have to earn and you have to be married and you have to have
Yeah.
money.
It I think it was just the um like where the society was going at that point. I'm not sure if my parents were also के इसको choice देते हैं,
Yeah.
या दे ऑल्सो डिडंट नो कि ऐसा होता है. लाइक अगर अच्छा मार्क्स मिला तो साइंस में जाने का, इंजीनियर पहले पहले डॉक्टर बनेगा. ओके, सो
Then a
फर्स्ट इज
doctor.
डॉक्टर, and
Second is
then if
engineer.
you don't get enough marks to clear doctor, then you have to be a dentist.
Yeah.
And then after dentist comes engineering, and
Yeah.
engineering also has levels. It has
Levels.
electronics engineering, that is the first.
Yeah.
And then उसके बाद था
Computer.
computer,
Yeah.
फिर mechanical,
Yeah.
and then if you are civil, you are like
The worst.
the lowest category of engineers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is how it is there. The perspective is there in people's minds, and I'm not sure if it has changed now, but back then it was exactly this herd mentality. So this is where I went, and even for me to switch from say IT to being in music, I couldn't suddenly be a musician or uh, be a part of a band and कि यही करते हैं. I had to actually do entrepreneurship. So we did entrepreneurship course from SB Jain, and that's when I started a music academy. So I had to convince my parents, okay, I have a business now. Like I'm a Gujarati, and chalo Gujju business kar raha hai, so that's okay. So I was like, at least chalo, I will do business, but in the field that I like. So I will do music mein business. So I'll be around music 24/7,
Yeah.
and that is how I actually got into music full time, because like by doing business in music. So that was still not like completely being a musician or an artist, just an artist.
But
It
that's
was, I had
fair.
to do
That's
something
fair
else.
because financial security is necessary, and that's all our parents were after. That's what we were
Yeah,
talking about this country and how we are still in the survival mode. Like our parents' generation, they tell us stories of how they went with torn shorts and chappals to school. Um, you
cross
know,
rivers.
yeah, yeah. So they've lived that life, and like they've come up to a certain economic level, and then they're like, it's so valid. They're like, yeah, you guys just do the thing that'll get you you know uh, money and security to live a good life. That's all they want, which is okay.
Absolutely. And I think financial security, because you also mentioned about parents' generation, like they fought for it, right? They fought for that security. And so for them, their expectations about us were that pehle independent, like financially independent bano. And uske liye kaise bano, to you become an engineer or a doctor because those are financially more viable. And I mean, I think in some way, because you talked about the freedom to choose arts, right? And I think somewhere that freedom also came from being a girl. There wasn't an expectation to be the stereotypically the man of the house and bring home the money to provide for the family. And I remember, and my grandmom would hate me for like for saying this in public, but we're all product of our backgrounds, and I love my grandmom. I have a very beautiful bond with her, but she would tell me growing up, when I said I want to be a dancer, and then I chose psychology in my BA. And up till that point, she would keep telling me, yeah, like, these are good professions to have because, tera counseling chalta rahega, dance classes chalte rahenge, and you would be able to give enough time ghar pe and like family ko sambhal sakte. There was an expectation that settling down meant having a family, especially for a girl. And the arts were a good field for the girl because, you can have it on the side while taking care of the family. And I think that's such a, like, it is a twisted way of looking at things.
The consciousness of our parents' generation was different. Like it was all about settling down and having financial security. And now our generation and the generation which is coming, it's all about being like exploring,
Yeah,
being individual,
yeah,
and what do I want, what is my inspiration. That is where it's going,
yeah,
and because it's going that way, it's kind of moving towards like what moving towards the artistic endeavors more, because that is what inspires a lot of people as well.
I think also, like, now in the future, when I think about the future generations and kids, and I'm planning to adopt soon, and I think it would be so lovely for my kid to be homeschooled instead of being part of this industrial kind of, okay, we're producing robots and whatever, kind of system, because there's not been a systemic change. There isn't a schooling environment that's so common, across and present everywhere, which gives you that freedom to be yourself and explore yourself. And how is your experience of homeschooling, Kanav? Like, I'm very curious to ask,
yeah.
like, what it's like for you.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I can't think of it being any other way. Like if I think back, um, so one is like about maybe 4 5 years ago, I would have been like homeschooling. Yeah, it sounds romantic and fancy, but not for me. That's what I would have thought. But then very naturally during the pandemic, because I'd already been in that setup, alternative setup where education itself is considered therapeutic, and the education is addressed to the whole being, that is the child, and it's not just addressing the head. It's not just information based, like rote learning, but it is about engaging with that concept idea, and sort of aiding you into becoming or even accessing higher order faculties within you. So when I look back, I was like, okay, I mean, do I need to put him in a conventional school? Because a lot of parents still struggle there. Oh, okay, this sounds good, and I know this is going to be really good for my child. But then if they don't have their 10th certificate and their 12th certificate, what are they going to do?
Right.
Because we are still there, that everything is dependent on the 10th and 12th certificate. Like things are slowly beginning to change now with this new education policy, that the 10th exam has been removed and it's directly going to the 12th, I think now, which is nice, which is interesting for us also, because we are in the fourth grade with our son, and we are hoping that by the time we go ahead, like, this really doesn't matter. Otherwise also it doesn't have to matter. Like uh, I encountered a few folks from this Krishnamurti school, Krishnamurti Foundation, and there I saw that in the high school they actually have like a proper like conversation like this on life, and they're like, what do you want to do? You have two choices now. Either you spend the next 2 years studying for the O levels, A levels, O levels, IGCSE, or you just don't bother about that. You study the way we've been studying, and you don't need these certificates because you don't see the need for them in going ahead in life.
My main inspiration when she suggested that we homeschool Kanav was that making him, like enabling him to be able to learn and educate himself and be open, and not go into this rote learning system, because I don't remember anything from my schooling, from my college. Maybe little bit of digital wave synthesis that I learned helped me in producing music. So, but nothing, I don't remember anything, and all those things also I had to relearn again, like what is a sine wave, all of that I relearned. But because I had learned, thoda bahut idea tha, but I didn't understand it at that point of time. So my inspiration was that, let Kanav become a person who's able to educate himself when necessary, because I believe in the next, like, coming decades, every 10 years you will have to change your profession, because
Yeah.
it will not be viable.
Absolutely.
That day family members are asking, अच्छा you're homeschooling, तो फिर मतलब एग्जाम
करेंगे क्या?
10th
हाँ.
क्या करेंगे? So again, it's all like they don't know that there are other ways, other paths to be pursued. And I think that is where, like, the more you make people aware about, this is possible, the more it
Yeah,
solidifies in people's
more
heads.
than
Yeah.
more than career paths and things to pursue, it's about being, I don't know, like we said, I like knowing who I am and what I want to do in life. I think that is the most, people don't have that consciousness at all. They've never thought of it. Like uh, people of my parents' generation, like even extended family of that generation, they can't understand at all. Like, what do you mean by who I am, or why
Yeah.
do I need to know that?
And
Yeah.
and so that is where we come back to the same thing that you are saying, that this is where arts becomes a basic necessity, right? Because if you are, because that is really what implores you to explore within, right? Because it is your self-expression, your imagination, your creativity. So the more arts you do, the more you know yourself, and the more you know yourself, the better you can make decisions in your life.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a journey towards self-awareness also, right? And I definitely, I 100% agree that the arts are such a great medium, especially when allowed to explore freely and allowed to be in free and safe spaces. There's also a lot of people who would say not every artist will have that freedom to be. There might be quite a few boundaries that even artists have around themselves, especially when it comes to traditional forms. But it's a part of like our kind of learning as well. What you said about schools, it's like it just dulls you down. And I also feel like you learn in schools and colleges and in our current societies to think in black and white. Like it's a dichotomy. Always, it's always a binary. There's always like this is good, this is bad.
That is why, like, holistic education is very, very important. Like, we are the students that we teach, the homeschoolers, they are learning about physics and music and geomorphology and math, everything together. They are not different subjects for them. It's all combined. Like, you are looking at waves and you're listening to music, so you're learning physics and music together. It's not
Yeah.
separate.
Right. And I think that's beautiful. So, we talked about arts being a medium for self awareness, right? Like how you can explore within yourself. And I know, Sumana, you explore dance a little bit, contemporary or modern, for your expressive movement therapy masters. How has that, have you had an experience where you thought, like, this dance has just made me explore or find something about myself that was just not possible when I was doing my IT job, for example? Has that happened to you?
Maybe not IT job. IT job was also very similar because I had the freedom of coding, and coding was again my expression. It was my self-expression. It was my code. So there, that was the beginning actually of me expressing myself into the world. Until then, like I said, I slept through school and slept through engineering studies also. That was all rote learning studies. That only little moment of awakening was when I understood math for the first time, when I didn't have to rote learn. Yeah, so engineering also I couldn't have experienced it because of the way it was structured and the way it was taught. Very close ended, that this is what it is, and it was very boring. It had no life to it. So yes, when I did expressive movement therapy, in fact even before expressive movement therapy, when I got into alternative education, educating the whole being, that was a fantastic journey for me. It was like I graduated school again with the first batch of students I took through. So it's like the same teacher takes the children from the first grade up to high school, and she's teaching all subjects. And like he said, there are no subjects. There are you immerse into a subject for over a month, and then you come out of it, and then you immerse into another subject. But it's all related. I like recently wrote a blog that grade school education is the reliving of the history of human evolution. So that's what it is. From like grade 1 through grade 10, you go through, you travel back in time, like from the beginning of human civilization, and coming to date, like up by grade 9, 10, 11, 12, you come into the more recent modern times. And through that journey of history, you have explored everything that man explored. So you've explored the arts, the sciences, and everything. So it's that entire exploration is actually one, and the subjects are only because you choose to now focus in mathematics. And then you come out and you go into geography or astronomy, but in geography also there is mathematics. So it's all very, very integrated. But yeah, the question you asked, when I and that moment when I was teaching, and I had this whole revelation for myself. And then when I did expressive movement therapy, dancing for the first time. So all of this was still cognitive. But when I started dancing, it was uh, it was something else. It was like this freedom of expression, expression from within. Like I could express through my body. So that was novelty. That was new for me. I was like, wow, what is happening? That was liberating, and that's what it has done to me. It has made me like more and more confident. It has made me feel more and more invincible. I already like feel blessed to have been born with a high self-esteem, and like just an optimist by nature, and a happy-go-lucky merry person by nature. I've always been. But coming here and working with my body and dancing, and especially contemporary dance, where it is not structured, it is about you and finding yourself and expressing yourself, that was liberating to another level for me. And that is where, throughout in my studies, master's, studying dance movement therapy, that one line stayed very strongly with me, that dance is inherently healing. I think same applies to art. Like art is inherently healing. I actually looked up the definition of art yesterday because we are coming here today, and the Oxford Dictionary says that it is the expression of human skill and imagination, human skill or imagination. I love it that we are having this conversation here, and spaces like this are what, I mean, it's what creating awareness out there. And it's, you don't know who is listening to it and what impact it's having on them. So it's beautiful.
No, I'm glad you think that way, because that's the point of the podcast as well. And I think in a lot of ways, this discussion about like art being an expression, I mean, through human evolution, you have examples of, humans producing art, no matter how old that is. Like you have all these cave paintings, and they say like, oh, these were just like line drawings or whatever. But I think only recently I read this paper about someone saying that this was actually the first example of a motion picture, because there were these very old cave paintings in these caves, and then someone walked with a candle next to it, and these paintings moved. Like you could feel the motion, right? And like, what creativity, right? Like how beautiful is that? And you find tool usage and cave paintings going hand in hand, you know. So there's like this, the growth of both tools and your expression using those tools has happened simultaneously, which just makes me think like, why do we look at these as separate entities, right? They're always hand in hand. I think the bottom line for me is that the way we train, the way we learn needs to change. Like we're not anymore, we shouldn't be products of the schooling system, or at least the traditional schooling system. We do need to learn how to learn, and the arts and the sciences provide us a way to do that. So in my utopian world, these dichotomies wouldn't exist. No dichotomies would exist. It would all be spectrums. It would all be just one whole unified thing. But since we don't live in a utopian world, I think they do exist, but we should move on from those at some point. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was lovely to chat with you, Sumana and Hardik. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast.
Same, same.
I
Thank you
think,
for having us. It
no,
was
thank you.
lovely.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you. So many different things that we've talked about, not just related to the arts or sciences per se, but I think everything together. And it's so lovely to talk to eclectic, versatile individuals like you, and so much to learn from all of you. So thank you so much for being a part of this.